In this section, we're going to be taking a look at how to build tables using HTML5. Of course, tables aren't new to HTML5, but like we've seen before, there are some new tags now available to group your data. I have a sample page that we can open up here in the Section 6 folder to go over how to build them. Basically, we use tables whenever we have data to format that benefits from a row and column structure, like what we have here. If I preview the page in the browser now, of course, the information is all packed together since we haven't built the structure yet. So let's go back to our document and we'll set that up. To make a basic table, we use 3 tags in combination. To start with, we'll use the table tag to group all the information together. I'll put the start tag right here above all of our data. And of course, we'll need an end tag below it all too. Then we can break the data up into rows using the TR tag, short for table row. I'll start one here before the first set of data. And again, set the closing tag after that group. We'll need a set of TR tags for each group of data, making each row in our table. So I'll set up the beginning tags for each, and then I'll paste in the closing tags to close off each one. And finally, we mark each item with the TD tag, short for table data. So again, I'll paste one at the front of each item in all the rows. And we'll need to close them all as well. Now we can save all of that and take a look at what that does to our page. When I refresh, it's still packed in here because we haven't included any styles yet, but you can clearly see that all of our data is lined up in a column, and it makes much more sense now. You can add a caption to your table also if you want. Let's just go back to our table tag structure, and right after the starting table tag, I'll add a caption tag. And this allows us to put some kind of title onto our table. Of course, like every other tag, we need to close it as well. We'll save that. And when we refresh, you can see our title right up here at the top of the table data. Now, very often, your tables will need headings for the rows or columns. For our table, it'll be the row at the top here. And to make this row of elements into headings, we just go over to our document and change those TD tags to TH tags, short for table heading, of course. I'll change the closing tags too. We'll save that. And when we go back over to our document, you can see that the default style for a table heading is bolded text. And we can't see it yet, but actually these elements will be centered, whereas our other elements will be left aligned. We'll get to see that more in the next chapter when we start adding some styles. Now it is important to note that for our sample, all the data lines up, meaning each row has 3 columns of data. If we were to just pick out a row and add an extra column to it, our table will just expand to make room for it. I'll just save that quick change. And now when we refresh the page, you can see that the first row of data has 4 items. But the other 3 rows just have an empty space there, because they only have 3 items each. Now our tables can also handle a more complicated structure, where you need to join 2 or more columns or rows together. I'll just remove that 4th line of data to pack our table back down. And let's try out joining a couple of elements together down here in the total row. I'll go to the first item in the row, and I'll add in a col span attribute. That's short for column span. And for the value, I'll set 2. Now this particular cell in the table will span 2 columns instead of 1. To make room for it, I'll get rid of the second total item. Now let's save our change and see what that does. Now you can see by the empty space here that this particular table cell is actually 2 columns wide. And we know that because the 3rd column is sitting over here on the right. If we had 2 normal columns here, they would just line up in the 1st and 2nd spots, leaving the 3rd spot empty. Now let's try this again. This time I want to join 2 elements in a row together. We'll go to the Data 1 table cell and we'll add another attribute. This time I'll use row span. And I'll also set it to 2. Now this table cell will stretch down to cover 2 rows. And again, to make space for it, I'll go down to the first item in the second row, and I'll just remove that. We'll save our change again. And when I refresh our page, you can see that that one item is sitting in the middle of that area, indicating that this table cell is taller and stretches across both of these rows. Now that we've seen the basic set of table tags, we can add in the new ones for HTML5. The new tags let us group parts of the table together, both to improve the content readability for all devices and also to make the styling of your table easier. We have 3 different sections that we can mark in our table. I'll start with the column headers. We mark that section using the T-head tags, short for table head. I'll put one at the start of the row that contains our headers, and then I'll put the closing tag after the row ends. The second section is marked using the T-body tag. It will include the data area, which for our table is the 2 middle rows. I'll just start the T-body tag right before the first row of data, and then we'll go down below the end of the second row, and we'll add our closing tag there. Finally, we can mark the total row using the T-foot tags. Again, starting at the beginning of the row, and closing the tag after the row ends. These tags don't add any styling, as we can see if we go back out and refresh the browser. But with this whole set of tags, we can format any table that you need. Now in the next section, we'll be taking a look at how to add styles to our tables, so you can get the design you want.